Happy New Year's Eve, and yesterday we were talking about how there was most likely going to be a trap set up early on in the week, and would that trap be to trap the bulls, or would it be to trap the bears? And right now, I believe we are still in the formation of that trap at this moment, so we're going to talk about a lot of things, going into some technical analysis for the SPY cues, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, looking at Microsoft instead of AMD, but we're also going to check over on Meta and take a peek over at AMC and GME and see what's going on over there, with maybe a special mention to FFIE because that's one that I actually took last week. So let's get into it. Now, there's some little stuff to pay attention to throughout our day, but the most likely thing that we need to be watching is just when this 2 hour is able to curl up. And I think you're going to see a time where that happens. So if you are new to this channel and you don't understand weekly expected moves, this is the purple lines on your chart here. The monthly expected moves are in yellow, and this is our 68% zone for the week. And above this line is our 68% zone for the month. These will be changing tomorrow. If you would like to join Patreon, hopefully you guys liked my afternoon update on Patreon, because we were talking a lot about how the SPY likes to form a base in a bear market, and we were leaning towards this actually going up like this and the potential for that to come down for the double dip, giving you some kind of signal on the 30-minute chart. So that is something we're going to be paying very close attention to tomorrow. We said we were snapping down to that weekly. We're probably going to get a retest of the daily, and then we end up failing. So as of right now, we're tilting in the downward direction, so be open if this is going to cross down for you to get a little scared at first. But if it sees a reversal signal here and then that 2 hour confirms up, looks pretty good. So the daily expected moves for tomorrow, we have 594.18 to the upside, and we have 582.26 to the downside. We have a huge amount of implied volatility. Now, when you have a huge amount of implied volatility, you can see a big move in one direction, but also you can see it in both directions. So it might mean if we're able to turn down and get through this weekly expected move, if you do see that curl back up, if we see a little divergence right here for the 30-minute, I'd be paying attention, because that is very likely to curl up your 2 hour for the SPY. And that 2 hour would lead to some kind of divergence here that could potentially start a daily run into January of 2025. So that's really what I would be paying attention to as we are in a buy zone. We are paying attention to that bounce because we have the 30-minute divergence right here. Now, it's key to understand this 2 hour has not reacted back down yet. It has not crossed down into negative territory, which means we do not have that good probability to test the low or go make a new one yet, maybe to get down towards 1212. It might mean we have a little bit of a trap left in us for VIX, which means we need to pay attention to the downward move that potentially could be there first thing in the morning. We need to see if that move is able to take us. Oh my gosh, is volatility skying through the roof? Is this really, really bad? That is something you want to pay attention to the bear side. But if we're going to confirm a base here, then you might see a reaction from volatility that is lackluster, giving you some kind of higher low, or you might see this break this high for a moment and give you another point of divergence. What you need to be paying attention to are any signals that overall can solidify this as a base, as you have a lot of daily charts that look pretty good. Now, when we go to the Qs, this is going to be a similar look. Once again, seeing that reaction up, going back into the daily expected move just slightly, and then curling back down, ending outside of it. So we're paying attention. If this rolls over, we're going to see if we're able to actually test the weekly expected move. That would be a big deal, but you do have daily expected moves down here as well. And so the daily upside move is going to be 521.76 to the upside. Your downside move is taking you outside of the weekly expected move, 509.46. Big amount of implied volatility tomorrow, which is kind of good, because now you know, oh, if it gets down below this, sometimes you can be like, oh no, I don't have really anything to go off of. We have a support zone in here drawn out, but if you didn't have that, this daily expected move can really help you in seeing where that support is very likely to come in. This is where we could set up some kind of little signal here on the RSI, maybe even the MACD at the same time. But the ultimate signal we're looking for here is the 2 hour chart. Now, if you're not liking this kind of price action, then you probably need to learn a little bit more, because if volatility comes in 2025, this is what bear market behavior looks like. This is genuinely what bear market behavior looks like. You see divergences that cause people to get bearish, and then it goes to the bull side for a second, and then the 2 hour drops down to actually make this a stronger base. And then that 2 hour actually might have a 30-minute divergence behind it as well to get you really bearish. And then right when you think it's all going to collapse, it turns the other direction. So you need to be practicing this right now. If you have trouble understanding this, please join my live video. I am more than happy to go in depth live to help out retail traders. That is the entire point of this channel, is to help you guys learn how these things really like to move. And this is behaving a lot like a bear market moment. I just want to point that out. But the ultimate signal here is just the 2 hour, right? If I can just sit and be patient, let the market do whatever the market wants to do, and then see this thing curl up, and I still have that divergence intact down here, well, isn't that just the patience game, right? Isn't that just the patience game? And then we see it curl up into positive territory, and then you're like, okay, that is very likely to curl up what? A daily chart, and that daily chart's been backing off for a little bit of time, and we don't have the best reversal signals up here. So a lot of people really getting scared of this, and that's probably a good reason. You kind of have like indecision on both the SPY and the Qs. But for the most part, if things are going to confirm down, we're going to need the Qs to confirm down on the weekly. You don't want to get overly bearish too quick. We want to make sure that these signals are proving, and all you have right now is a test potentially going to happen of that weekly expected move. And if this is just able to uncross, not cross by the end of the week, it could buy itself some time. I am more leaning towards the middle of January at this moment for this signal to actually cross down. But just because I'm leaning towards that, I'm paying attention to the signals. The reason that I'm saying that in my video right now is because we still have this forming right now on the 2 hour, which could lead to more upside and a new all-time high for the SPY and the Qs if we can base out with this structure here. Apple is not one fooling around right now. It's crossing down on the MACD. It's telling you, hey, this is pretty bad. But every single time we come below this, we get towards that 20 and we see a ramp up. So we're still looking for the ultimate moment where you actually are going to go back down and test 236.36. I think that is coming, whether Apple's going to go different from the market or if this is all going to pull down right now. I think it will come. So the ultimate best setup for Apple is to just be patient and see if that thing can curl up into positive territory at a later date. There's no big reversal signals here. Apple is very good at showing off reversal signals for the most part, you know. So this is the main thing I'd be paying attention to if I was trying to get bullish on Apple. But the shorter time frames, I get it. Everyone loves the shorter time frames. The 2 hour isn't even negative here. If the 2 hour can confirm up, that would mean positivity, but we are losing the 5. So we have to see if we're able to get through that. If you look at a 30-minute, have we created a strong base at this point? No, you have not. You have tried to make some form of weakening in momentum right here. Notice we are waterfalling down. We kind of get that to smooth out a little bit, but the RSI just showing no divergence down there. It really tried to, but it's not showing it like it did the last time. Right there, we can blatantly see divergence back here, and what happened? Good things. We don't see that here at this moment. So there's always a chance that we could dip down a little bit deeper and create some reversal signals, and that's what I'd be paying attention to for Apple in order to see if that 2 hour can curl up, because if it does not make a strong base here, then it kind of has an argument to say that that daily pullback might be coming right now. Tesla, very interesting because you got the curl down into negative territory, and that's not necessarily a good thing because you notice how quickly we came up through this. So this is kind of in a boat that's a little bit worse than Apple, I would say, because ultimately, what are we looking for from Tesla? Well, we're looking for it to retest something like 360, come down into that area, and then curl up into positive territory. And that could be happening right now, right? We could still see that right now. I only want us to be paying attention to reversal signals when they actually confirm. That is when they are actually there. They are not there until they confirm, and that's going to be important tomorrow. We will remind you guys of that in the morning during our live show, and thank you guys for showing up and liking these videos. It means a lot. Thank you for getting me to 10K. I think that's fantastic. We're growing this community bigger and bigger every day, and let's just continue to be helpful. So something we can pay attention to is the fact that, hey, you know, Tesla's curled down. It's testing the 20, but it really looks like it wants to back off, maybe down towards 350 to 360. So we'll pay attention to something like that being retested. But for right now, we're in this triangle, okay? We are still in this triangle. We're still close enough to positive territory where the 2 hour could still make a pretty good run, right? We could see this break out, retest, and then end up going to the upside. And then up in these areas, maybe we run into some problems up towards $500. So we will be paying attention to both sides on Tesla. For now, you don't have the best reversal signals. Notice that the 30-minute here was able to make a signal to give us this bounce. We're not necessarily seeing those signals right now. You just see a brief one on the RSI. That's going to be very difficult to actually take as a trade setup. And you always have the opportunity that in this triangle, it could break to the downside. So something I would be paying attention to for Tesla. Really, if you see positivity, that's great. Make sure it's breaking through pretty cleanly and then watch out for the retest. But if this isn't able to break through and we curl back down into negative territory, that's going to be a problem because you see the left head and right shoulder. So just be a little bit cautious with Tesla. I think there might be some better opportunities for other stocks, but if you like trading Tesla, I'd be waiting for some 2-hour confirmations. Amazon doing things a little bit differently than Apple, right? We noticed that it has a similar look here to Apple's divergence that it made on the RSI. Fantastic. It even made it on the MACD at the same time. That's why I really liked this potential bounce, but we're always open to the 2-hour needing to make a stronger base. Now you do see the reversal signal still holding here for the RSI, but kind of getting rid of it on the MACD. So a little bit careful with this one is what you need to be at this moment, but this still could be shaping up to be just a very volatile double bottom. So what could be happening in the near price action? Well, if the 30-minute crosses down, that's going to be a bad thing. If the 2-hour can cross up, hey, that's a reversal signal. So those are the two things we're really paying attention for Amazon. We don't want to, overdo anything or, overanalyze. We really want to keep it simple when it seems simple. And maybe we're just looking for something like this right over here. And the reason that I'm talking about that right now is because it's actually holding. So the difference between Apple and Amazon right now is it's actually holding the divergence between these two drops on the RSI. So if we need it on the MACD at the same time, that could be brief, and then we actually just make a double bottom and we'll see what happens. But it's important to note, this is some pretty big selling. Like, I don't want to go without saying that a lot of dailies are saying they need to pull back deeper. And what have we been saying for actually since these points up in here? We said, yeah, I'm just going to be patient and probably wait for us to go test something like right here, right? 200 to 213. That's what we've been really looking for. So if we're able to get down to that area, okay, that's fine with us. But right now, I think we do need to pay attention to the fact that we're hitting a lot of bottom side weekly expected moves, which tells us for this week, not for next week, not for the next week, not for the next week, but for this week, as we are hitting those weekly expected moves, the percentages would say that we're supposed to bounce from these areas. Nvidia has been going to plan, ever since down in these areas, it's really going to plan. We got the retest, we got another retest, and now we're to the upside. Are we going to get another retest or are we going to break through? We can look out for a little divergence in here. We can look out for weekly expected moves and things like that, but ultimately the 2-hour is confirmed down. And if this needs more time, to retest again, to get by that center line before it can cross up, that could be a good thing, but you want to treat this 2-hour crossing very seriously. Look at the last time you were in this area for the MACD and the 2-hour cross. Bad things, right? So this is why reacting, not trying to say, oh, it's down by 35, now that has to bounce. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying let the indicators tell you exactly what to do, and then you can make a decision. But what we're saying is this, the last time, was very, very bad. So we want to make sure that if this does pull down, it's able to confirm that 2-hour move higher. And that actually could be one of the first big runs for Nvidia. So that's something we're paying attention to. Just a note for Nvidia that is a little bit different than other stocks. The daily is crossing up and it's been in positive territory and it's still holding above the 9. So we have no reason to believe that this needs to absolutely get demolished, but we're aware of the risk of that 2-hour being down. So we're paying attention if that thing can whip back up into positive territory. All right, now I'm going to talk about the one that I actually like the most. Now, we do have a lot of looks that could be considered kind of head and shoulders like, but you're going to see those all the time on the 30-minute, just so you know. They're going to play out in a million different ways, but we'll notice the signal down here was fantastic and it made us take back the 5. Then we get into that bear market behavior where the 2-hour needs to make sure this is a sturdy base. So ultimately, the signal I'm looking for is, well, Meta has daily divergence up here, so I want that daily to confirm back up into positive territory to go make a new high. So what do I need here? I need a strong base, and a strong base is going to be with the 2 hour. Look at the 2 hour coming down. Look how significant that divergence is right there on the RSI and the MACD at the same time. I'm really liking the look of Meta, and as we go into the shorter time frames like the 30-minute again, we can notice that it's holding the divergence points almost the entire way through on this RSI. It's literally holding like all these divergence points, and that's fantastic. But the most important thing right now is it needs to hold this one. So it needs to, if it's going to drop down in any way, it needs to hold that divergence point and then see that confirm. And then you have a good shot of turning up that 2 hour chart. So, and the reason for that is just because you're actually going to get it on two momentum indicators at the same time, the MACD and the RSI at the same time. But the ultimate signal we're paying attention to is, hey, does that 2 hour confirm up? Because that means, hey, this daily that is, getting closer and closer to the center line with a bad signal, we can potentially get rid of that signal or go make some kind of trap to the upside in January. And weirdly enough, Microsoft might be in the same boat, right? Microsoft might be in the same boat. And the only thing that's bad about this, we're going to talk about it in a moment. I just want to talk about the 30-minute. You're noticing that the divergence is holding on the RSI. So this is immediately a little bit better than Apple. It is holding those divergence points. It was able to cross up. But notice it might want to make it on the MACD at the same time. And we're going to pay attention if we can hold these divergence points for Microsoft. If there's just a brief amount of selling, or if we're going to see a waterfall of selling, that's why we wait for the confirmation. And if you're still confused, the confirmation would be, hey, does this MACD actually cross? And then I have to start managing my trade. Does this RSI actually cross back up? And then I have to start managing. And if it can go past the center line, I start to feel better. If this can go past the center line, I start to feel better. And then I see if that 2 hour is able to cross up. And then I manage my trades still, right? These are very risky times. Bear markets, I do manage trades a lot longer. But I wanted to show you the 2 hour because we still have that flatness down here, but we really got rid of that divergence we were paying attention to on the MACD. So I would say there's just some very flat things going on the RSI. I'm not even going to call it divergence just yet, but I really want to show you how beat up this thing is and the reaction that it could get. So something that we talked about on Patreon with Microsoft was if we're going to see positivity, Microsoft can really help us out with the week because look at this level here. So if we're talking about new monthly expected moves and December expected moves, well, then it really wouldn't make sense for us to just see that boom because we're going to see things end outside of monthly expected moves. But if we actually go down a little bit tomorrow, and then we end up seeing an uptick by the end of the day, and then we go into Thursday and see that move up, and then by Friday we actually are pulling back into this zone, you would have the head and shoulders, you would have the good base at this point to turn up, you react to a key level, you turn down to retest the breakout of our zone, and then you can confirm to the upside. And I think that Microsoft has a very good way to actually move higher if that can take place. So we'll pay attention to it. Right now, you just want to be a little bit weary of Microsoft because it as well is down by the center line on the MACD for the daily chart. But I just want you to notice that we're touching bottom Bollinger. So bottom Bollinger, a lot of the time, where are we going to react to? Probably to retest the 20. Where's the 20? Right where we could have that neckline. So be paying attention out there. AMC, we've been talking about the ultimate signal here is the daily. The daily needs to confirm up into positive territory, and then you got to break through 452. But we were talking about making a 2 hour divergence. We really, on this pop here, we were like, man, I would love a 2 hour divergence. That would be so good. And then look at the 2 hour now. You have a 2 hour divergence down here. So the 2 hour divergence looks pretty good. You see it on the MACD and RSI at the same time. Look how significant on the RSI and MACD that is. So big things going on here, getting closer to the center line. If this can see a great confirmation here, it would be a good indication, a good probability that this is actually going to turn up the daily chart. So this is where a possible melt up can begin for like a slow melt up for AMC, and we'll see what happens with it, right? That's what we're going to go over throughout the week as more price action shows. Now, if we go over to GameStop, we're actually noticing a bad signal if you cross down on the daily. So if you cross down on the daily, be a little bit cautious because you have divergence here, you have divergence there, you have divergence there. So be paying attention, but this thing is holding up really well. I can't really talk badly about it too much. I can just say the 2 hour looks like it needs to maybe pull back according to your indicator. But if we go into a 30-minute, we can see that that is still positive and we're still holding the 5. So if you can see some positive price action tomorrow, you can keep melting up and then you got to break through 36.16 to see something crazy. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible with these type of things because we don't want to overcomplicate it and bring up FTDs and bring up all this stuff, bring up short sellers. Just if there's good signals, then a stock is very likely to play out those signals. It's way more likely to play out those signals than if they were not there. The last thing before the main takeaway was just, we've already seen the yields actually. We can pop over to those for a second. The yields actually are seeing that drop we were looking for, and this has been moving in tandem with the dollar. So I do expect the dollar to drop down, but look at that sideways, that flagging in here. So we'll be looking for if the dollar can break down. As of right now, it looks like some indecision going into tomorrow. So we will see if this is actually able to confirm down. And I think that would be people moving out of cash and maybe back into assets. So we'll pay attention to that. But for the most part, we just want to be like, okay, let's make sure that these basing out signals are forming. It seems like they are. Now let's make sure they actually confirm before we make a decision. That's going to be very important when you go into a bear market. It's very important to wait for those confirmations. A bear market can really rip you apart if you try to take things early. So I'm just going to tell you with the main takeaway here, make sure things are confirming and make sure you are managing risk. That's what trading like water is all about, and that's what we do on this channel. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. If you guys want to check out the courses, they are currently on the 90% off sale for the New Year, New Me sale. Tomorrow I will be live in the morning, but Mama's got a dentist appointment, so I will be hopping off around 10:15, so about an hour and a half or 2 hours into the stream, just so you are aware. But I'm planning on doing a big Friday stream to look at these expirations and stuff like that. So expect a longer stream on Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you nothing but luck in your trading here on out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow live in the morning. Peace out.